The Curse of Black Hollow Manor. Do not open this book if you value your life. There's a mansion, they say, hidden away in the forgotten parts of the world, Black Hollow Manor. It's not marked on any map. You won't just stumble upon it. No, you're called to it. Centuries ago, during an age soaked in blood and ancient rites, a cult summoned darkness and bound it into the very soil of Black Hollow. Their leader, a twisted prophet known only as the Whisperer, wrote a book that would become the key to a deadly game. It was crafted from human skin, the pages stained with blood and the ink of forbidden knowledge. The rules inside were meant to test your soul, and if you failed, you died. I didn't believe the stories. Legends told by those who barely escaped or those who never made it out alive. But then, one night the call came. I didn't seek it. It found me, alone, in the dead of night. I found myself standing before the gates of Black Hollow Manor, cold and silent. The wind barely stirred as I stepped inside. In the center of the great hall, there it was, the book, placed upon an altar covered in dust, surrounded by dried wax. It called to me like it knew I'd come. And there, etched in a script I didn't recognize, were the words, "Do not open this book if you value your life. Only the curious will seek what lies inside." Curiosity took hold of me. I opened it. When you enter the mansion, you saw the book. You belong to the night now. You may not leave until exactly 6 a.m. Not before, not after. Time is twisted here. A second too early or late, and the curse takes hold. The moment I opened the book, everything changed. The atmosphere around me thickened. The air felt heavier. I looked at the clock, 3 a.m. But the hands were spinning backward, pulling me further into the grip of Black Hollow. The rules were clear. I couldn't leave until 6 a.m., or the curse would claim me. Rule 2. After 6 p.m., never open the front door. No matter who you hear, your brother, your mother, your child, they aren't real. They're wearing the voices of the people you love. Don't fall for it. If you open that door, they drag you out screaming. It was near evening when I heard a knock. Soft at first, then louder, familiar voices calling my name. Let me in, it's me. But I remembered the rule. The voices weren't real. They wanted me to open that door. And if I did, they would drag me into the night screaming for my life. The fear in their voices was almost too much to resist. But I stayed silent and backed away from the door. Rule 3. You must choose protection. Take the white chalk from the book and draw a 7 on your forehead to call on God. Or take the red marker from the last page and draw a 6 to offer yourself to Satan. Only one of them is watching, the other laughing, but the number must remain until you leave the property. If it's wiped away early, your body turns to cold, cracking stone, and you'll still be alive inside it. The book made its choice for me. I could feel it. My hand reached for the red marker. It was cold to the touch, sending a shiver through my bones. 6. I marked it on my forehead, sealing my fate. The air around me thickened again. I could feel something watching me, something that was laughing, but not with kindness. The laughter echoed from the walls, from everywhere, as if the house itself was mocking me. Rule 4. At midnight, descend into the basement. There, you'll find a cracked mirror. If you bear the 7, stare for 21 minutes. If you bear the 6, stare for 18 minutes. Do not turn your back. The reflection wants to replace you. If you blink or turn too soon, you become what's inside the mirror, forever watching. I made my way to the basement, the air growing colder with each step. Down in the dark, I found the cracked mirror, a jagged shard of glass that seemed to breathe. I stood in front of it, holding my breath. The book said 18 minutes. My reflection shifted, the shadow of someone else standing behind me, yet when I turned, no one was there. I couldn't blink. I couldn't move. The reflection of myself grinned, its eyes empty, hollow. It wanted me, wanted to take my place. Rule 5. At 1 a.m., locate the indoor cemetery, the gravestone that reads Death Valley. If marked with 7, enter the coffin and close the lid for 12 minutes. If marked with 6, remain for 81 minutes. Inside that coffin, the air turns sour and the darkness breathes. If you fall asleep, you'll wake up in Hell's Playground, where demons rip your soul apart for eternity. If you're lucky, you just never wake up at all. I found the grave with the inscription, Death Valley. The 6 was marked, and I knew what I had to do. My legs trembled as I crawled into the coffin. The air became thick with an unsettling chill, and a bitter, rancid stench filled my nose. It felt like I was suffocating, as if the coffin itself wanted to swallow me whole. I pulled the lid down with a deafening thud. For what seemed like hours, I lay there struggling to keep calm. I had to resist the urge to close my eyes. The book had been clear. If I fell asleep, I wouldn't wake up, or worse, I might end up in hell. The dark shadows around me seemed to swirl and dance, whispering incomprehensible words. their voices growing louder with each passing minute. It was as if something, someone was waiting for me, urging me to close my eyes, to rest. I fought it. I fought the overwhelming pull of sleep with everything I had. Time stretched. Every second felt like a lifetime. Every minute like an eternity. I counted down the minutes in my head. I could feel my body begging for rest, but I held firm, knowing that if I let go, I'd never see daylight again. 81 minutes. The lid creaked open. I quickly scrambled out of the coffin, gasping for air. But when I looked around, I was not where I had started. The cemetery had vanished. The mansion, its walls, the cursed house felt further away now, yet at the same time somehow even closer. Rule 6. At 2:30 a.m., go to the master bedroom, lock the door, use the salt from the closet to draw a perfect circle around the bed. Stay inside it, stay awake. If a shadow figure with red eyes and razor teeth appears, do not hit. Don't make eye contact. If it starts moving towards you, break the circle just slightly and invite it to lie down. As it climbs onto the bed, leap out and restore the circle. Then run fast, run quiet, hide anywhere. If you sleep in the bed will swallow you whole. Or worse, whatever comes in will take your shape and leave as you. It will go home to your family, and it will feed. I stumbled into the master bedroom, my heart racing. The room was empty, eerily silent. It was too quiet, unnatural. Then I heard it, the whispers, and there it was, standing in the corner of the room. A shadow, its red eyes glowing in the dim light, the teeth sharp and gleaming, possibly wide. It stepped toward me, slow and deliberate. I didn't hesitate. I ran to the closet, grabbed the salt, and quickly traced a perfect circle on the floor around the bed. The whispers grew louder as the shadow moved closer. I could feel its cold presence, its hunger. I stepped inside the circle and tried to keep my breathing steady. But the shadow didn't stop. Like it kept coming, its eyes locking onto mine, piercing through my soul. I felt its power, like it could take me in an instant. But then, just as the book had instructed, just as I ran, the creature's footsteps echoing behind me. The door slammed shut with a deafening crash. I didn't look back. Rule 7. At 3 a.m., a secret hallway will reveal our dripping. A sign reads, "One is a trap. Choose wisely." I followed the strange magnetic pull through the mansion's twisted halls. The hallway I entered felt endless, but it wasn't. It was real. It felt like it was inside my very bones. At the end of it stood 2 staircases. One was illuminated, glowing with an almost celestial light. The other was dark, filled with an ominous dripping sound. A sign above read, "One is a trap. Choose wisely." I stood there, paralyzed, my heart racing in my chest. I knew the light staircase, bright and seemingly safe, was a trap. But the darkness, it felt like it was waiting for me, beckoning me deeper. It had to be. There was no way around it. I chose the darkness. Final rule, when it hits 6 a.m., leave the mansion immediately. 1 minute early, you'll vanish into the mist, never to return. 1 minute late, you become part of the house, a whisper in the walls, a shadow in someone else's nightmare. Once outside, wipe the mark from your forehead. If you try before leaving, you'll be turned to stone. If it won't wipe off, say someone buries you. You'll still be alive in there, but you won't be able to scream. I kept moving through the darkness. I didn't look back. There was no time. It was almost 6 a.m. The minutes were ticking away. When I reached the door, I thought I had made it. I stepped outside, the first rays of dawn breaking over the horizon. The mansion stood behind me. I stood there on the threshold of the mansion, breathing in the cool morning air. The mansion loomed behind me, dark and silent, like it had never been disturbed. The first light of dawn tried to break through the mist that swirled around me, but it couldn't touch the cold feeling gnawing at my insides. I wiped the mark on my forehead, desperate to rid myself of it, but it wouldn't come off. The skin felt burned, as if the mark had become part of me. No matter how hard I scrubbed, it stayed there, a glaring symbol of the curse. Panic set in as the minutes ticked away, and I realized there was no one to help me. No one was there to bury me. The air thickened, and I heard it, the whisper. Low and soft, but growing louder, the mansion's call. I could feel it pulling me back in, wrapping around me like a chain. The mist from the house crept through the cracks in the world, seeping into reality, and I knew I had failed. It was 6 a.m. I hadn't escaped in time. I took one last look at the mansion, the place where I had played the game, where the curse had found me. The walls seemed to shift, like they were alive, breathing in the morning light. And then, with a sharp, sickening twist, I felt the world around me begin to collapse. Before the mist fully overtook me, I stumbled back, fighting the pull of the house. My hands were shaking as I fumbled for something. I managed to find a scrap of paper and a pen I had kept in my pocket, barely able to keep my thoughts straight. With trembling hands, I wrote it all down. The rules, the horrors, the choices I had made. I wrote about the book, about the curse, about the choices that had led me here. I wrote everything, hoping beyond hope that anyone would find it, that they would learn from my mistake, from my suffering. But there was one thing I had to make clear. One last piece of advice that I could give. If you ever find yourself at Black Hollow Manor and you find the book, put the 7 on your forehead, call on God. It's your best shot. You may survive. I wrote down as much as I could before my hands became too weak, before the world around me grew too dark. The last thing I wrote, the final words of my soul were, stay awake. Do not fall asleep. You cannot afford it. And with that, the mist swallowed me whole. Like, whoever reads this, if you find it, heed my warning. And when you stand at those gates, when you hold that book in your hands, know that you're not just opening it. You're making a choice that could very well cost you your soul. But if you choose the right path, maybe, just maybe, you'll survive long enough to escape. The book waits for you, always.